any conversation which we must have as a country, then it's whether we must continue having the office of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya in our constitution or not. And if we must have that office, then as a country, we must define specific roles to that office. We must have that discussion.
Kwa sababu saa hizi naibu wa rais ukiuliza mtu kazi ya naibu wa rais aswa ni nini na amepewa ofisi ya kufanya jukumu gani.
And that discussion should not be confined to the office of the deputy president alone. We have the deputy governors in this country who are doing nothing because their bosses don't want them to do anything. In this country today, there's a deputy governor somewhere who is earning a salary but is working as a surgeon in the United States of America. In the last term, the deputy governor for Machakos was fighting with Governor Alfred Mutua. And during the entire period, the deputy governor didn't have any job. The only thing he could do was to go to the office, sit there, read newspapers, and leave. End month and salary. And the stories of the deputy governors in these countries are so many. There are certain governors who are working very smoothly with their deputies. But majority of deputy governors in this country, some who I've talked to, they've told me they don't have defined roles in the constitution. But why must we have this conversation? Yesterday, something very interesting happened. A group of youths in Eldoret town took to the streets. Then these youths bought a few newspapers, the Standard newspaper to be precise. And after purchasing a few pieces of the Standard newspaper, they set them on fire. They wanted to send a message to the Standard. Why? Because the Standard had carried out in their headline a story which they felt was offensive to the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya. And in that story, the Standard captioned it, "Big office, zero powers." And that's why we must have this conversation. We must have this conversation without any fear or contradiction. Because we are going to a referendum. We are going to go for a referendum. And chances are that more offices are going to be created. But one man captured this very clearly, because I want us to look at why I feel we must discuss whether we need this office or we don't. So one man called Kipchumba Murkomen captured this so well sometimes back. I want you to listen to Kipchumba Murkomen, and I want you to listen to him very keenly, what he's saying from the beginning to the end.
Kama amwezi kuheshimu ofisi ya deputy president ambaye alifanya president kuwa president kwa kuomba kura pamoja, kama hamna heshima na hiyo ofisi, kama hiyo ofisi mpaka saa hii haijapewa kazi, kwamba kazi yake ni hii na hii na hii, kama portfolio has not been created ya deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, mutawezaje kuheshimu a prime minister ambaye ni appointee ya president? Kama nyinyi mnaona kweli ni heri tukue na viti vingi kwa Kenya, tuanze kwanza kuheshimu ofisi ya naibu wa rais, na tupatie kazi hiyo ofisi ya naibu wa rais, apewe defined responsibilities kwanza, kabla nyinyi hamjakuja kusema tuongeze viti vingine. Kwa sababu saa hizi naibu wa rais ukiuliza mtu kazi ya naibu wa rais aswa ni nini na amepewa ofisi ya kufanya jukumu gani, kwa sababu kuna watu wengi wanasema William Ruto ameenda kufungua barabara, ameenda kufungua shule, ameenda kufanya mchango. Haya, mulitaka asifanye hiyo, ndio afanye nini? Yeah, tell us exactly what does he supposed to do? Those who are castigating the deputy president, that he has gone out there to open roads, to fundraise for churches, to open technical institutions, to fundraise for schools. Can you tell us what has the cabinet since 2013 determined as the functions of the deputy president? Once you answer that question, we will be able to answer why he is not able to do that job that has been given to him. Because vice president wa zamani walikuwa ni chairman ya cabinet subcommittees, lakini tangu 2013 we've never had William Ruto amechair hata subcommittee ile ya anything kwa cabinet. So before you tell us you are going to create more positions, tell us exactly what is the defined responsibilities of the deputy president under this constitution and under this regime, so that it defines the future of the government of what you are going to create more positions. Na mimi nimesema hiyo kwa sababu hakuna haja. William Ruto hawezi kuwa deputy president milele. Hiyo imeisha. Katiba inasema 2022 William Ruto cannot be deputy president of anybody. So as we prepare for another deputy president hapo mbele, nataka tuambiwe ya kwamba hatutaona ile madharau inaonyesha deputy president inaendelea kwa deputy president ya baadaye.
Now if you listen to that speech by Kipchumba Murkomen, Kipchumba Murkomen is alluding to something. And that's exactly what the standard was alluding to. But Kipchumba Murkomen's speech was supported by the allies of the deputy president. And the standard is being castigated by the same supporters. Now let's talk real politics. Before I'll give my opinion. Let's talk real politics. In 2013, between 2013 up to 2017, the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, William Samoei Ruto, was a very powerful man in this country. He had powers. He was influencing things here and there. When he walked around, you'd see power around the office of the deputy president. And Kenyans had hoped that it was going to continue like that. Remember, in 2010, Kenyans changed their constitution. And one of the changes which were made was to create the position of the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, that particular office. The idea was that we were going to do away with the vice president, which was basically working under the sympathy and mercy of the president. So the first thing the constitution did was to protect the deputy president. So it made it mandatory that if you are running for the presidency, then you must indicate your running mate. And then once you are elected with the running mate, then there's nothing you can do. You can't fire the running mate until after 5 years, which was good and progressive. Because I'm sure if we didn't have that check, probably today the deputy president would have been kicked out by the cartels around President Uhuru Kenyatta. But what the constitution failed to do during that time was to assign the office of the deputy president specific role. It let it loose or hanging that the president was going to assign him duties. So in the first time of Jubilee rule, Uhuru Kenyatta let the DP to discharge the functions befitting the office of the deputy president. Then came the second term. The DP has been reduced to a mere blogger. According to how Kenyans are now describing him. He's been now turned into someone who just attends events organized by members of parliament. You know, in this country, MPs have the CDF. So a member of parliament takes 2 million, purchase a bus for the school, brand it for the school, and then invite a whole deputy president from Nairobi to go to the constituency to launch. That was not the role of the deputy president. But sadly, the constitution is not very clear. It's just saying the DP is supposed to be the principal assistant to the president. And the functions he's performing can only be assigned by the presidency. Of course, there was this fear that if you allowed the office of the deputy president to have powers, then you are going to create 2 centers of power. And you can still use the Uhuru-Ruto case today, assuming Ruto had powers in his office. And Uhuru also had powers in his office. It is clear we will be having two serious centers of power in this country. But because we only have one center of power, that's why people like Fred Matiang'i and Karanja Kibicho can really do whatever they want to undermine the office of the deputy president. In my view, I strongly believe that as a country, we must agree to have the office of the deputy president. Forget about the occupants. We must have the office of the president. But again, assigning specific roles. During Moi era and the Kenyatta era, we have the vice presidents, but they used to have a docket, a ministry under them, like the Ministry for Internal Security. For example, Matiang'i will now be working under Ruto. Things like those. And unless we agree to discuss those, then we are still going to have problems in this country. Because this country, Kenyans are now realizing that, okay, you can have a running mate, but it can be made useless. It can be rendered useless. So when election will come, then very few communities will be willing to enter into an arrangement where someone is going to be assigned the position of the deputy president. But why am I rooting for the office of the deputy president, but with defined roles? So we have a DP, but we define roles for him. Why I'm saying that? Number one is respect. The constitution is clear that we have the presidency. The presidency is the president, the deputy president, the cabinet, and his team. Now we have a deputy president who is not part. Technically, the DP is now not part of this presidency. So he's not commanding any respect. So I think one thing we must really deal with this issue is the respect to that office. So as a country, we must agree to respect the office of the deputy president. And the guy serving in that office must also not disrepute the office. So if you're a deputy president of the Republic of Kenya, then you should avoid going to churches to conduct a rambes every single Sunday, avoid going to launch motor vehicles, buses which have been bought by public money, but do serious functions which the constitution will define. The second reason in my view, is influence. The office of the deputy president must be influential office. So if the president is powerful, then the DP must also appear to be powerful. He must influence things. We don't want a situation where you have the office of the president, the office of the deputy president, and then the DP is not influential. As a matter of fact, assuming William Ruto did not have the kind of money he has today, what would be happening? He has money, so people are attracted to his office because they are going to get money from that office. So assuming you just had an ordinary Kenyan with no money serving as a deputy president and then being isolated the way the DP has been isolated, what will happen? So we must have defined roles, but we must be very careful so as not to make them so influential, so powerful to an extent that they also feel that they are presidents. So the constitution should consider that. I did make these presentations before the Building Bridges initiative, but I hope someone will listen to me. Number 3 is about inclusivity. As a country, we are divided every 5 years. So to address that, there was need to create more positions. I know it's unpopular because people have been made to believe that paying a deputy prime minister, paying a deputy president, paying another prime minister would be expensive. I don't look at it from that perspective. I'm looking at it as part of inclusivity. Kenyans must feel part of the system. Someone was asking me yesterday. I was just talking to a friend of mine on this channel. He was asking me, what are the options for the DP? He really supports DP. But he was asking me, what will happen if he appoints a Kikuyu as a running mate? And what if he will not appoint a Kikuyu as a running mate? And I was explaining to this guy that the challenge the DP has is with the running mate. If we will appoint a Kikuyu, Kenyans will argue that Kikuyus have ruled this country for a long time. And Kalenjins have also ruled this country for a long time. So we can't have a country where it's a rotation between Kikuyu, Kalenjin, Kikuyu, Kalenjin. So the DP must now go for someone else, like say Kalonzo, or say someone else, Mudavadi, so that at least that shift and change is there. But it was like, if that happens, then it means the other coalition can now go to the Kikuyus and give them a deputy president. And because that deputy president will be powerful, then they might say, okay, let us. So it's complex. So to address these inclusivity issues, we need more positions. But as Murkomen aptly put it in that particular clip you had, there is no need for us to have a prime minister, a deputy prime minister. There's no need for us to have those. If the current ones which we have, like the deputy president, is not respected. And lastly, we must make the office of the deputy president attractive. If you don't make it attractive, that it means serious people will not be going for that post. The same as to deputy governors. The deputy governors in this country, there was a story in Kisumu here, where the deputy governor was chased out of his residence because the county government had not paid. He was just being undermined by a few individuals in that county government. So basically what we are saying is, let us make this office of the deputy president attractive. Let us make the office of the deputy governors attractive, so that they can attract for us the best brains we have. Because if you don't do that, then everybody will be running for the presidency. There is no way you can convince Kalonzo, who is a diplomat, not to run for the presidency and to go for the vice president. Because if you ask me today, between Matiang'i and Ruto, who is powerful, who has more influence? So someone will say, okay, wacha hiyo vice presidency ikae, deputy presidency ikae, wacha mimi muniteue kama waziri. And because of those four reasons, I think as a country, we must start and agree. If Kenyans feel that, okay, we are overburdened, then let's do away with the office. But I don't think doing away with the office is the right thing. Let us retain the office of the deputy president. Let us retain the office of the deputy governors. But we must define their roles. We must, because if you don't do that, then there are leaders who will come with goodwill. They'll allow their deputies to shine, to perform certain functions. They'll send them outside there. But if you have issues like currently we are facing between the president and his deputy, then the deputy president will not perform any function. Look at it. We are in a situation where the deputy president of the Republic of Kenya cannot be sent to Somalia and Ethiopia by the president to go and discuss on issues which affects this country. But instead, he's sending Matiang'i any other person. I don't know what you think, but that's my take. And if you're bumping on this video for the first time, I want you to take a second or two and hit the subscribe button so that next time we produce a video like this one, you get notified. Thank you guys, and please, may you have a good day.